We are here for the 6 months. You can find all the lessons on aplusstudents.com. You have to log in there using your email address and password as provided administrator. Then you have to select math on the subject tab, scroll down to basic math, and then click on view all lessons. Here you can find the list of the chapters. We're going to start with the chapter called Ukraine. The lessons begin to maps, distance between 2 points, follow directions on a following plane. Please make sure you have your book and pencil so that we can note down the important examples and definitions as well. So let's just start with the lesson coordinating planes as maps. Let's just start with the test questions. Is the science lab? You find the coordinate of the science lab. So you can see here the sign of the science lab is this. So this is the science lab. Just look at the match up with the x coordinate and y coordinate. So that is 3, 5 option. Number 1 is the correct option. So x is 2, y is negative 2. That is the hospital. So negative 2, negative 2 has the coordinate 2, negative 2 has the hospital. That is hospital. Option number 2 is the correct option. Where is the magic shop? Here it is. So the magic shop is 1 and 3. Option number 1 is the correct option. That is 1, 3. Option number 1 is the correct option. What is at negative 4, negative 2? Negative 4, x is negative 4 and negative 2. -4, -2. That is a toy store. Option number 4 is the correct option. That is toy store. That is option number 4. Toy store it is. Where is the magic shop? Here is the magic shop. This is a sign. That is -4 and -1. -4, -1. Option number 1 is the correct option. Option number 1 is the correction. -4, -1. Where is the art gallery? Where is the art gallery? So the art gallery is at -3, 1. Option number 1 is the correct option. That is -3 and 1. Option number 1 is the correct option. That is -3, 1. Option number 1 is the correct option. Option number 1 is the correct option. Where is the locksmith? The locksmith. The locksmith is at 1 and 6. Option number 1 is the correct option. The locksmith is at 4 and 6. Where is the office supply store? Which is the correct option? It office supply store. So office supply store is at 5 and 4. Option number 1 is the correct option. Okay, you can complete the lesson by yourself later today. Let's just move on to the next lesson. The next lesson is distance between 2 points. So now we're going to learn how do we calculate the distance between the 2 points. Find the distance between the 2 points that are 2, 4 and 10, 4. So 2, 4 and 10, 4, the point has the same y coordinate, right? So you need to calculate the distance. So how do you calculate the distance? You have to subtract their x components. That is 10 minus 2. 10 minus 2 equals 8. That is 8. List questions. Find the distance between the points 2, 5 and 10, 5. So the point have same y components. 10 minus 2 is 10 minus 2 is 8. Option number 1 is the correct option. That is 8. Option number 1 is the correct option. That is 8. Find the distance between the 2 points. They are 6, 7 and 6, 2. So the distance between the points is they have the same x components. Just subtract the y component. So 7 minus 2 is 5. It is the correct option is 5. Option number 1. Find the distance between the points 7, 7 and 7, 3. So 7 minus 3 is 4. Option number 1 is the correct option. That is 4. Option number 1 is the correct option. 4 it is. Find the distance between the points 4, 5 and 10, 5. What is the distance between the points 4, 5 and 10, 5? So which is the correct option? 4, 5 and 10, 5. They have the same y component. The distance between the x component is that is 6. Option number 1 is the correct option. That is 6 units. Option number 1 is the correct option. Find the distance between the points 3, 3. That is 10 minus 3 is 7. Option number 2 is the correct option. That is 70. That is 7. 10 minus 3 is 7. Option number 2 is the correct option. Find the distance between the points 2, 4 and 10, 4. That is 10 minus 2 is 8. The distance between the points is 8. Option number 2 is the correct option. Very good. Find the distance between the points 8, 8 and 8, 3. That is 8 minus 3 is 5. So that is 5 units. Option number 1 is the correct option. That is option number 1 is the correct option. Is where is the theater? Which is the correct option? The theater is at 2, 5. Option number 1 is the correct option. That is 2, 5. Where is the hospital? So the hospital is at 1-1. Option number one is the correct option. Very good. Where is the pet store? Which is the correct option? The pet store is at 7-4. Option number one is the correct option. That is 7-4. Where is the pet store? Pet store is at 1-2. Option number one is the correct option. Option number one is the correct option. We are done with the lesson. Let's just move on to next lesson. The next lesson is follow directions on a coordinate plane. Let's just start with the test questions. So you start at A2. You move right 1 unit. Where do you end? A2. X is 8. Y is 2. Here is the point you started. You move right 1 unit. Just move right 1 unit. So end up here. That is 9 and 2. 9, 2. Option number one is the correct option. That is 9, 2. You start at 5-8, you move right 5 minutes. Where do you end? 5-8. X is 5, Y is 8. That is 5-8. You move right 5 minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is 10 and 8. Option number 1 is the correct option. That is 10, 8. Option number 1 is the correct option. You start at 4, 2. You move left 2 units. Where do you end? 4, 2. You started at X is 4, 4, 2. Move left 2 units. That is 6, 2. Very good. Option number 2 is the correct option. That is 6, 2. 2 to O, you move left. That is 2, 2. You start at 310. You move 3 units. Where do you end? 3 and 10. You move right 3 units. That is 6, 10. Option number 2 is the correct option. That is 6, 10. Option number 2 is the correct option. That is 6, 10. You start at 6, 7. You move right 2 units. Where do you end? X is 6, Y is 7. You move right 2 units, so then that is 8 and 7. Option number 2 is the correct option. You start at 9, 4, you move up 4 units. Where do you end? So, which is the correct option? That is 9, 8. Option number 2 is 1 is the correct option. You start at 0, 10. You move 9, you move down 9 units. Where do you end? Zero, 10x is 0, y is 10. You move down 9 units. That is 0, 1. Option number 1 is the correct option. That is 0, 1. You start at 4, 10. You move down 8 units. Where do you end? That is 4, 2. Option number 2 is the correct option. You start at 10, 8. You move left 5 units. Where do you end? 10, 8. You move left 5 points. That is 5, 8. Option number 1 is the correct option. That is 5, 8. Option number 1 is the correct option. You start at 30. You move left 3 units. Where do you end? 30. You move left 3 units. That is 0, 0. Option number two is the correct option. You start at 5, 4. You move up 5 units. Where do you end? 5, 4. X is 5, Y is 4. You move up 5 points. So that is 5, 9. Option number one is the correct option. That is 5, 9. You start at 0, 2. You move right 7 units. Where do you end? Right 7 units. So you end up on 7, 2. And we are done with the lesson. So we were working on grade 6 math. Chapter we were working on is coordinate plane. Lesson we have covered. The lessons we have covered today are coordinate plane as maps, distance between 2 points, follow directions or coordinate plane. So please make sure before the next session you can complete all the practice questions for the lessons we just did. That is your homework until next session. So if you need more help with any of the lessons, you can simply click on the live chat button. Tutors are available there to help you, or either you can write down the question in the chat box and here to answer all questions and confusions if you have any. So you can please ask questions if you have any. No questions? Okay, then that's all for today. Everyone.